Hey, Simone here. How are you guys going? It's a beautiful day, maybe in some places, but it's super rainy here. So I'm actually inside, which never happens. So I just wanted to tell you guys about an issue that I've been seeing and maybe it's helpful for you. So I just talked to a new client who was super frustrated because no matter what she's doing, she just can't catch the momentum. It just seems like things are going to go and then they're not. It's been like pushing a boulder up the hill no matter what. So she always feels like she's the one who's seeing the problem and she's doing something about it, but the rest of her team are just not pulling with her. Every time she comes back she's raising money, so every time she's coming back from a whole round of investor meetings where she was out of town, nothing got done, the wrong things got done, things didn't get executed right, so nothing really got done while she was gone. Her team comes to her complaining about things, but that's it. They're coming to her complaining and they're not really coming to her with solutions, excuse me, that help her really direct the team. It's always just up to her. So she's been reading books, watching YouTubes, doing all this stuff to really come up with the right solution. But every time she decides to change something, every time she tries to implement any of this stuff, it just goes wrong. Nobody really seems to be there with her on this. So all this time, it seems like momentum is just around the corner, but it never quite gets there. So she feels like she's struggling. And she's been pushing so hard for years now. At this point, she's super frustrated and tired and getting to that place of burnout. And she feels like she can't do it anymore. Her partner just left her because it seemed like anytime she was home, she didn't really have any energy, any time, any sort of like anything to give really. And most of the time she wasn't present anyway. She gained like 25 pounds in the last year because her health is kind of going down the drain. She's not exercising, she's not eating well. And even when she was doing that, she felt like she wasn't getting the energy that she needed. At this point, she's spent all of her own money. She's done the friends and family round. She's had a small investor before. So it's looking like, on paper, it looks like it should be good, but every time she meets with a bigger investor, they just go, well, this sounds great, but I can't quite see it, right? So this is kind of like the way she's describing what she's doing, the way she's delivering and pitching this, they just really can't see what's going on, so they're not interested. And she has a dedicated team, but just like her, they're getting to this place of being really burned out. And one of the other things that's happening is she feels like that they're not believing her anymore. So anytime they have had a setback and she comes back to rally the team, she feels like they're just kind of rolling their eyes behind her back and maybe even talking behind her back. And she just, before that phone call, she had just found out that they actually were talking about her behind her back. So she was getting really freaked out, going, okay, nobody even sees me as a leader anymore, right? So anytime she tries to show up really confident and inspired to rally the team around the vision and the mission, she feels like a total phony. And she feels like that's actually translating at this point. So the bottom line really is, you can't keep going that way. If this is something that's happening to you, and I've heard this not just from one person, you can't keep going this way. If you don't fix this soon, you'll lose your chance. And we all know where you're at, no matter what phase of business, if you're catching that momentum and you are kind of getting the market turning your way and you're getting interest, all that kind of stuff, if you don't act, if you don't execute right, if you don't make a significant push within that 6 to 12 month window, you're toast. And once you start losing momentum, it's incredibly hard, if even possible, to catch up. So that's one of those things where if you're not executing right, if you don't have that team who's backing you up and who's helping you push forward, you have a really big problem. So it's kind of like, you don't want to get to a place where you're doing all this work right now, but you're not getting there as quickly as you could, and somebody else is watching your progress and going, that actually looks like a really good model, and they take what you've been working on, they change it a little bit, they pivot a little bit, and they have more money, more team, more I don't know what, but they're executing for you, and then suddenly you're the one who's left holding the bag. So I don't want that happening for you, right? And it doesn't have to be that way. So while a lot of CEOs, especially for younger companies, really struggle with that momentum piece, and they're feeling like they can't rely on their team really help them to get there, it doesn't have to be that way. A small handful of younger CEOs are doing a great job, and they're really discovering what one of the biggest things is. They have to stop acting like newbies. They have to start realizing that actually there's not just the product. They have to build a whole company around that product, and that's what's going to put them on the map. Products, you know, even if your product is amazing, there's so many amazing products out there. They're a dime a dozen. Even if it's truly unique, truly innovative, you still need that whole concept that really shows that you have a strong company that supports you, a strong team that supports you, that you can keep executing. If you're looking for anybody to give you money, if you're looking for new talent, it just has to look like, not just to look like, it has to be that you have your ducks in a row and you know what you're doing. So when I think about the CEOs that do really well, they know when it's time to grow, they can't do it without having a strong team, and they know that they need to put the right systems in place so that a team can actually act like an A team and can really help you get it right. And the thing about this is like, you don't just do this once. And this is one of the things I see over and over. I get a really excited leader who is going to implement the systems, and they kind of do it for a while, and then it becomes difficult. You know, there's resistance in the team because of course there is. They don't want to do anything extra. They don't want to do anything differently. They want to just keep going the way it's been going. So that's one of the hardest parts. If you don't consistently keep on your team to implement these new things, you really become that chief reminding officer at that point. If you're not, then people are just going to start abandoning, go with their old MO because it's just easier. It's what they know. And then all this effort you put in at the beginning to put these systems in place will have been useless. So it's really important that you really think of that. As you're building this company around your product, it's going to be work. It's going to slow you down. I'm going to be just dead honest about this. It's going to slow you down. You're going to have a resistant team. You're going to have struggle with this. But you have to think about that this is all worth it in the end, because once you have implemented the right structure, the right systems that really get your team executing on the same page, that gets you guys on the priorities that you really need to focus on, once all that stuff is set up and people are used to implementing and executing that way, suddenly you'll have an enormous push, and it'll suddenly feel like everything that's been so hard that you've been struggling with is now moving forward. And now you have a team that's gelling, that's excited, that's inspired, and guess what happens when that happens? Stuff gets done, and the right stuff gets done, and people are having ownership. So you're not the person anymore who's constantly micromanaging, making sure all the things are getting done, all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. You got to be the person who gives them the direction and then helps them stick to it and helps them get in the right place with it. And you're going to have to keep doing that for a while until everybody is used to that. So just like that, when things are done like that, the right things get done at the right time, the energy is high, the momentum is high, everybody feels it, and suddenly it's like you're that overnight success 20 years in the making, or whatever it's been for you, right? So the other side benefit of that is once you scale and grow your company, and once you move away from having that tight little group that you had in the beginning where everybody is really connected and strong, when your company is growing, you can't have that at some point. At some point, you're going to have more space, you're going to have more disconnection with that. And that's why everything falls apart. That's why so many companies don't make it past that scaling point. But once you do, and also when you have that, the dynamics really change. It's like you might have felt like you had a family, you were just working with a group of friends, and once you add all those pieces, all those systems, it might feel too corporate to you, or it might feel like you're not really connecting with people the same way you were. And you know what? It's true to a certain extent, but again, systems will set you free when you actually start using them. And in the beginning, it might kind of feel like you're alone at the top, but when you bring your team together like that, and when you help them work like that, you'll suddenly, for one thing, not feel so alone, and you'll have the brilliance of 100 people kicking in instead of just yours being replicated, right? So think about how that can really, really increase the level that you're working at, the level that you're executing at, right? So think about what you could do this week, just like one little thing that you could change this week that'll help you get on track more. That'll help you speed up, that'll help get your team on the same page, that will get you guys communicating better and feeling like you're working as a unit instead of these siloed individuals all over the place. So think of one thing you could do this week and start implementing this, not just once, but consistently. And that's the most important piece with all of this. Consistency, right? So start implementing consistently, and then let me know how it goes. Like, observe it for a week, then put in another week. You really need a month, not just 21 days to change that habit, to instill that habit. Let me know how it goes. So keep thinking differently. That's what got you here. And if you want to know more, we just put up a brand new amazing training, bulletproofstartups.com. Go there, watch the training, and if it resonates, book a call with me and we can really discover what's going on for you. Anyway, you guys have a fabulous week, and I'll see you next time.